everyone, it's Cindy. Who's ready to take just a deep breath with me? Just a okay, why are we taking a deep breath? Because it's day 5, but somehow we have 6 and 7 already checked off. How could that be, you ask? Well, in my wisdom of trying to get ahead of myself here on Junk Journal January, somehow I filmed a couple videos in one day, and the video for day 5, routine, it is just missing. It has just evaporated into the ether, into the universe. So we're going to do this one again, but it's okay. I'm actually fine. I think that I can talk about this in a actually more sensible way. That's the thing about practice, is that we get better, right? Okay, so you've probably already seen by now at least one video where I've made something for a journal I talk about that I'm working on. So right now the journal I'm working on is actually this journal based on this book, Nora's Stars. So I've created a journal based on this book once before, and I have a lovely customer who had wanted to purchase it, but she missed it, and so she asked me, please will you make one for me? I don't usually do custom books for several reasons. I have sort of one customer that I do them for because she's wonderful and she doesn't stress me out. So not that other customers stress me. No one stresses me out. Customers are always lovely. They're honestly more friends than anything else in the junk journal community, and I can definitely say that from pretty much almost everyone who buys from me, especially my repeat purchasing customers. It's weird to call them customer because I feel like they're just a part of my life, they're friends. So anyways, that being said, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about my routine when I'm making a journal in general, but also when I'm putting a story into a journal. So this is, a book that has a story, and I need to tell that story in the journal still. And this time I really wanted to tell the whole story. So I wanted to keep the exact book in a whole book inside here, because this wonderful customer actually sent me 4 copies of this book. I was like, what? So she's wonderful. I still have one that's pristine that I'm possibly going to need to pull something out of, but I'm not sure. So this story, Nora's Stars, let me just show it to you a little bit. I can link the original flip through video down below to the original journal. So this is the story of a little girl named Kiki who goes to visit her grandmother in this beautiful house up on this hill, and she feels like this house essentially almost touches the sky. So there's some lovely things like hibiscus and plums. She has a beautiful garden. And when she goes to bed at her grandmother's house that night, she notices there's a toy chest that's full of these lovely toys. And then, she looks at the window to see this whole sky full of stars that's just gorgeous. So she feels really, mystified by the stars, and says that she wishes she could take them and keep them in the room with her and play with them. So the toys say, hey, no problem. And they go up into the sky and they take the stars, and they have a star party in her big blanket on her bed. And it gets a little bit, very imaginative. So then, however, after, they've got all the stars and they're just having the most wonderful time, all of a sudden Nora notices that Nora. Kiki is the dog. I'm so sorry I'm calling the girl Kiki. Kiki is her dog. Nora is her name, hence the name of the book, Nora's Stars. So anyways, she looks at the sky and she just sees this sad, gray, starless sky. And it's begun to rain, and she says, oh no, I think I can't keep the stars from the world, or the world will be sad and the sky will be crying. So they release the stars again, and they are good citizens of the planet. So that being said, it's a sweet, wonderful story, and it's a lovely book. It's Satomi Ichikawa who has written this book. Sorry, my phone is being annoying here. Okay, so I wanted to talk to you a little bit about a few things I do that are part of my routine when I'm trying to write or write a journal, trying to create a journal with a bit of a theme to it. When I've been asked to work with prompts or certain themes, I kind of have a little bit of a practice. So I knew first off that I needed a certain type of book for this, and it was a book that had a gilded border on the cover. That was kind of how I envisioned this, because that's what the original one looked like, and I wanted to make this a better version of the original. And I'm actually quite of the belief at this time that I'm accomplishing that. So what I did was I sat down and I watched my original video, which I'll link below. And I just went, okay, I have to include some elements here. So I just made this really messy note, some of which I can't even read now, which is really sad. And I've just been going through. So the first thing was shakers. Shaker cards. I had shaker cards in that book. Punched small stars, like this one right here. I was using this punch, and I had punched some little small stars that I had trickled through the book, and I want to do that a little more exaggeratedly actually in this book, and I think I already have, because it adds like cohesiveness throughout the journal. These stars kind of scatter. Other kids' book pages. So I went into my collection of children's books and I pulled out pages to make ephemera, and pages that were, other stories that were kind of like the same types of themes around nighttime and stars and the moon and sleeping and toys and those kind of things. A gold fabric flip. There was that was in the book. I haven't done one of them yet. I've done a different fabric flip. Fabric clusters with crochet, dreams, a gold doily, word snippets, tell the whole story. So that's what I'm going to talk to you a little bit about today. This is kind of the key one, tell the whole story. Lace on journal cards, a watercolor painting, fireflies, the book spine. So I just made a note about the book spine because I wanted to replicate it in a similar way, in that what I had done, I had painted with some gold underneath this lace. Then I added lace, and then I gilded the lace. And then what will be coming after I get the book's cover mostly ready to go is I'll be putting an eyelet in here, and I'll be making a spine dangle on waxed linen, some starry painted art, book bits on the ephemera, so pieces of the book. And it's been nice because I've actually been able to harvest from 4 copies of the book to make ephemera. A glass raindrop bead, eyelet closure, so that will go in the front afterward with yellow seam binding, screwed in book plate binding. So I did that here, and actually this one I used a really beautiful journal label, nicer than the other one I think. And on the eyelet spine dangle I put buttons, crystals, yarn beads that I made myself from my wire core yarn, jewelry findings. Then I just did a few of the themes: bedtime, dreaming, rain, toys, childhood. Lace on spine, check. 5 signatures, 6 by 9. I've got 5 signatures. Yellow and white lace on the pages. Haven't done that yet. Planning to. Cut out the story and small parts of the book to tell the story. So I've done that, and that again will be key to what I show you when we jump into the in progress book. Now, I had used a pillowcase edge, those crochet ones, to create pockets on the insides of the end papers in the original journal. I don't think I'm going to do that in this one, actually. I think I want to do something different. Nature shaker card at the front, so I did something a little different with the shaker cards. Starry end paper, and just in general, lots of stars, florals, lots of stitching, coloring book pages, dynamic use of this little toy chest, and I'll show that to you after. First chapter was about the garden. Story journal cards, so I made journal cards that like incorporated parts of the story. Blue dyed paper, gold fabric, button cluster, lots of poems and verses. Crinkly parchment, kids with toys. I have no clue what this word is. It's like DRING, RTLE. No clue. No idea. Stenciling, cabbage dyed, sparkles, garden photos and stuff, celestial stuff, rain. What is this word? Stenel? I don't know. Winkin', Blinkin' and Nod. The Land of Nod. Charms, the moon, constellations, stamps, a fold out, old toys. I've got a few of those in there actually. Fabric backed ephemera, yellow handmade paper, gold paint, and little girls in gardens. I've actually done this and this. So that's kind of like a loose plan of elements, right? So that's a bit of a routine that you can follow. Now, another thing that I do in a lot of books that I create, especially the ones that I do as like larger lapbook style books, is I like to begin by actually telling a story, and I like to do that with a vintage photo. So I have this. This is actually a lovely vintage photo from the 1930s. It's somebody's Aunt Nell, but to me this is actually grandmother, and she's sitting there in her beautiful home. It's like a brick castle looking home, and you know, it has this beautiful window and there's a garden behind her, and I backed it onto this. This is like children's writing, so it's like, you know, she's a grandmother. So I think what I want to do is I want this to be the pocket inside here that kind of starts telling the story. So then we get into my routine with my signatures. So this book's getting chunky now because it's almost done. When I did the first video, it was probably half of this. So this video will likely be a little bit longer, but it's actually a good thing because I can talk a little more about my routine here. So the first thing I did is I had to create 5 signatures, and I needed to tell the story in 5 signatures. Now, as you know, with a book is like, you know, signatures in a book, they are sewn together in these, like, let's say this is a signature, in these clumps, right? So, oh, it is a signature actually. So this page is actually attached to this page. So you can't just randomly pull the whole signature out and then have, you know, page 1, page 2, page 3 in order. It just doesn't work that way. So you've got to get a little creative if you want to tell the story page by page, so that it stays in order. So what I did was I sort of wrote a note like page 1, page 2, and I just kind of put a check mark there, like, yes, I incorporated that one in order. So I had to do a lot of kind of shifting back and forth. How do I keep this whole thing, you know, cohesive? And then I treated each of the signatures kind of like a chapter of the whole story. So I'll start with signature 1 because it's the garden chapter. It's the introduction into the book. So this is from page 1. One summer, Nora and her dog Kiki, you know, they go to grandmother's house. Grandmother's house nearly touches the sky. So, you know, here is grandmother in her house. This is from another children's book, but this is Nora to me in the garden. So now we open it on up, and so this was from page 2 and 3. It had actually spread right across the bottom of here. I trimmed it off and I added it up here. That way I only had 1 page to deal with. I knew this would come later. It was still relevant to the chapter, but I didn't have to worry that I'd have some half of the book page that belonged with the story that was happening over here. So then I was safe for a little while. I could go, okay, I've got a few pages to play with. Then I just did some, you know, ephemera. I added some more pages. I'm still just, you know, going along here. Then I get to the next place where I need to tell the story. So here is the next book page that I used, and the way that I told the story here was on this journal tag, and also I incorporated some relevant details. So here she's in the hydrangeas. She's actually talking, or sorry, not hydrangea, hibiscus. She's talking about that, and she's also talking about a turtle. So we have a turtle journal card that I made, and the story that go in this pocket, and we've got some hydrangea and some pink ribbon and a leaf, so it ties it all together. Then we have the other side here where she's picking plums, some of that crinkly parchment. the story now continues on the book page. So sometimes you'll get great book pages where they're kind of split in half, so you can fold them and maintain the story. Those are the best pages. So this is just the other side of the garden. It's all good. This isn't related to the story. Then this isn't actually related to the story, but it is a tag and it does have a line from the book in it. This is a shaker card, a particularly fun one. I feel like that's just fun to play with. But anyways, that's not related to my routine. Let's stay serious. Okay, so then here's that last page. So I didn't have a whole lot to deal with there. That page was just good on its own. So then we'll move into signature 2. In this signature, I start here by adding the story to this pocket. So this is when Nora's going to bed and she has some plum jam, and you know, things are starting to kind of go from her being out in the garden playing to getting ready for bed, and this is when she's going to meet the toys. And we have another shaker, and then the next page, so this was across 2 pages as well, so I had to get really crafty with this page. Let me see if I can find it in another copy of the book. Hold on. Actually, it might be kind of good if I just follow along here and show you how I made modifications. So see this page, and the words were over here. That became this. So see, I shifted her down to make her into a pocket. I kept the background, added some stars, then took the words and added them here. And that allowed me to deal with both of these pages. So then I continue along, and then I get to the next page, and so this is where I implemented one of my rules or my list. And one of the things I'd done in the other book was to use a flip out, like a tip out of the whole page, because they're long pages. So the story continues here, then here, then we turn it over and we have a whole page here. I get to maintain that whole thing. So then I get to another children's book page, a little bit of Somewhere Over the Rainbow. And that's fun. So then the other side of this is still a tip out because it has this magnificent image. And then the story continues here. Then I think now we reach the end. I don't think I have any more storytelling to do. So then I just get to kind of play, add other things, have fun. I've still got my my story all intact. I just got to go back for a moment and replace this journal card. There we go. So that was signature 2. We'll see what page that got us to here. As we go into signature 3, this is when we begin to play with the stars. Hold on here. Something is, I'm picking up too many pages. There we go. Okay. Signature 3, that gets us to playing here with the stars. They've gone into the sky, so we've already done this, and now we're here. Okay. So I use this as the front page. Then the back side of the page is this next page, and it's a full blank spread. There's no words to deal with. So then I continue along here. This isn't related to the story. Then I get here, and this page I pulled out and folded. So I've got the story there. I did a little stitching. But then on this side, I had to get to the next page here. So this had to come out of another copy of the book because I'd already used the other side. So this is why it was important to have multiple copies of the book. So here we have Grandmother. Then I took this snippet here and I added it onto this little pocket here. And this is where I made this quilted journal card to go in there with Nora on it. So then I'm able to just go ahead and play for a couple of pages until I get here. And then we flip, and then I'm able to use just this beautiful centerpiece. Then I get into a few more pages where I get to do what I want, and then I have the back side of that page. No more storytelling had to happen, so I got to the end of another, safely to the end of another chapter that still makes sense. Then I'm on to chapter 4, and this is where she starts to realize that taking the stars away, the rain, was happening, the sadness was happening. So I've already added some rain to this. This chapter is rainy, kind of has a rainy feel to it. And then we begin, we have some rain stenciling, and then after grandmother left, Nora threw open the lid of the chest and let the stars out. So then we have this page here. So the other side had this. So I just folded that page. And then I get to just do some other fun things for a while until I get to this page. So on this page, I just use this page as the center here. And so it's this way. And I made a little tuck spot here, and that's where I continued the story. She felt a drop of water. Is the sky crying, she wondered. So then we continue along. Until we get to the final page again. Then the door blew open. Nora wondered why and went outside to see. Kiki went too. Oh, she said the sky is so dark now. And then get to the end here, and just some fun. And then we move on to the final chapter in our routine. So this gets to the part where she gives the stars back. She decided to give the stars back. Then I have a pocket I haven't filled here. Then this is what I was talking about when I was saying dynamic use of this little trunk. So this is like a little image in the book that I used, and I want to make, let me show you. I want it to be like a little tuck spot. So this is a little tuck spot. I got to put something in, and then we'll have a pocket here. And I'm using little cutouts of the book. And the next spot where I tell the story, this is a little pocket that I made for the book, is right here on this belly band. She looked up, the sky looked sad without any stars. And then I also added this down here. They were having a wonderful time, but Nora was worried. Then I get to use this spread here for the center. And then I've continued the story on the pocket. The toys climbed back into the trunk. That came from here. And this was the only spot where I had to do a bit of a switcheroo, because it didn't matter. The order, the context of this page and that page didn't really matter. So I have her climbing back into her bed here. Now here is something, thankfully I still have a little bit left of things that I marked up. I talked a bit about this in the video, so I'll mention it to you as well on this one. So as I go through, I know there's spots or there's text that I'm not using because I'm going to put it somewhere else. So I crossed that out, took it from another copy of the book and put it down here. And then I'm going to cover this with something like a pocket or what have you. The other thing that I was talking about is when I was doing my plan as I went through here, on this page there was text down here and I scratched it out, but I also drew like an L shape because I know, okay, I want to have a pocket there. So then we conclude the story the way that I use it up in the very end. We get to the last page of the book here, and it's these two pages. So I created this little tip out, added the words to this. So that's how I kept the entire story in there and made a bit of a plan, a routine to follow that worked for me to be able to include this whole story so that my friend will have her whole entire story intact. just grabbing all of the, so I'm calling them chapters, the signatures of the book, so I can put them back so that they don't get out of order. But yeah, I'm quickly approaching the end of this journal, and I'm really loving how it's turning out. So hopefully that made a little bit of sense to you. Another thing that I kind of demonstrated a bit, and I can show it to you maybe real quick, is, you know, if you are planning to try to make a journal, and I've been hearing from a few people now about how they feel like they can get stumped trying to make their journal interesting. So I was thinking about this little process about routine, and I just want to show it to you just quickly. So imagine, you know, you have a journal and this is a signature, and like you're feeling kind of like, oh, I've been so bored with, all I do is create a pocket and a tag and a pocket and a tag, and it's boring. So you want to make something that's like dynamic. So like you can put together roughly the kind of journal that you want, however many pages or signatures, the paper, pick it all out. But then maybe just take some scrap paper and go, how do I make this dynamic? So maybe, you know, this is your opening page. Maybe you can do that little thing where you tell a story and you use a vintage photograph, and maybe you include a vintage document here that kind of goes with this photograph. And maybe it's like, maybe it's a guest check and you're using a picture of, you know, a woman, and maybe you're telling her story. Maybe she had a job in a restaurant for a while, right? So you can do that front page entry, like either over here on the not fly paper, the end paper, or you can do it on the first page. If you want to introduce something, if you want to start a story as you jump in, plan it a little. Then as you go through, you're like, okay, this can be a regular writing page, but then I need to do something over here. What do I want to do? You know, I think this page, if you look at it and say it's like you only like half the page, you want to cover this whole page. So think of a whole page covering that would be interesting. So maybe it's a pocket here and a pocket here, and you have like a loaded page, and then you plan, you know, to put something here, and maybe you're going to do a little cluster over here in the corner. Then you come over here and you think, you know, I'd like to have maybe a Rita Donnelly flip here. Then over here, you know, I really want to make this journal kind of busy, so I'm going to do a belly band, and maybe I'm going to sew some lace to it, and I'm going to put a journal card in here, and then down here I want to put a stamp. You know, and then we're at the center of our signature. What do you want to do with that? Maybe you want to put a doily, and then this is just a really pretty page that you like. And then you come over here and you're, you know, like you're just kind of planning, right? Like you're putting together, like I haven't had an upper tuck spot yet. Let me do one like this. And then, you know, maybe here I want to have a flip down, like a tip down. You know, you can draw it like that. And the more busy that you want to make things, go right ahead. You can even put details in, like I want this to be a playing card. I want it, you know, because I like to add playing cards. Yeah, so just go ahead and plan, like if it helps you to feel like you aren't putting together a book and then you're like, what do I put into this book? How do I make this a journal? Just create an idea book maybe. I have a couple of them that I sort of haven't really been filling because I end up getting busy with other things, but I do have the intention. I forget who it was that did the TCTC 2020. I think it was like the Tome of Colossal Ideas or something. I can't remember, but I started doing it and I have the book here. I have this big book that I made. I was going to add all these things into it and I just didn't. But I'm adding other things to another journal. So yeah, just create ideas. You know, each time you make something neat, you can write it down. You can have a journal of ideas where you just draw pictures of it, whatever works for you. So that's my little chat about routine today. Hopefully I wasn't too chatty. I'm surprised I even talked this much because this is the second video. So yeah, I'm going to try not to eat videos. that was no fun. But thanks again for hanging out with me, and I hope you're having a really lovely day. We'll talk again. Bye for now.